Now, Doctor, you, a great deal of your work, of course, are aware of the fact that in your early work, you were, to some, at least, in association with Dr. Sigmund Freud. And I know it would be of great interest to many of us to hear a little bit about how you happened to hear of Dr. Freud and how you happened to become involved with some of his work and ideas.
Well, as a matter of fact, it was in the year 1900, in December, soon after Freud's book about dream interpretation had come out, that I was asked by my chief, Professor Bleuler, to give a review of the book. I studied the book very attentively, and I didn't understand many things in it, which weren't clear at all to me. But from other parts, I got the impression that this man really knew what he was talking about. And I thought that this is certainly a masterpiece, full of future.
Yes.
I had no idea then of ideas of my own. I was just it was just when I began my career as an assistant in the psychiatric clinic. And then I began with experimental psychology or psychopathology. I applied the experimental association method by and the same that has been applied in the Grappelin's psychiatric clinic in Munich. And I had the results, and that there is a reaction, a certain reaction to a stimulus world. That is more or less uninteresting. But the interesting thing is why people could not react to certain stimulus worlds, or in an entirely inadequate way. And then I began to study these places in the experiment where the attention or the capability apparently of the test person began to waver or to disappear. And I found soon out that it is matter of intimate personal affairs people were thinking of, or which were in them, even if they momentarily did not think of them, when they were unconscious, with other words, that nevertheless an inhibition came from the unconscious and hindered the expression in speech.
Yes.
And then I, in examining all these cases as carefully as possible, I saw that it was matter of what Freud called repressions.
Yes.
I also saw what he meant by symbolization. And then I wrote a book about the psychology of dementia precox, it was called, now it's schizophrenia.
Yes.
And I sent the book to Freud and wrote to him about my association experiments and how they confirmed his theory thus far.
Yes.
And that is how it began, my friendship with Freud began.
Yes.
Research comes to the question of the unconscious. There things become necessarily blurred.
Yes.
Because the unconscious is something which is really unconscious. And so you have no object, you see nothing.
No.
You only can make inferences, you know.
Yes.
And so we have to create a model of this possible structure of the unconscious, because we can't see it.
Yes.
Now, you see, he came to the concept of the unconscious chiefly on the basis of the same experience I had made in the association experiment, namely that people reacted. They said things, they did things without knowing that they did it or said it.
Yes.
And this is something you can observe experimentally in the association experiment, where people cannot remember afterwards what they did or what they said in the moment where the stimulus world hits the complex.
Yes.
The reproduction in the so-called reproduction experiment, you go through the whole list, and you will see that the memory fails where there was a complex reaction.
Yeah.
And that is the simple fact Freud has based his idea of the unconscious on, because that is kind of what you can see time and again, that people, for instance, make a mistake in speech, or that they say something which I didn't mean to say, that just make ridiculous mistakes, you know. There are no end of stories, you know about how people can betray themselves by saying something they didn't mean to say at all, yet in the unconscious meant him to say that thing, just that thing. For instance, when you want to express your sympathy at a funeral, you go to somebody, you say, I congratulate you, you say, that's pretty painful, you know, but that happens, and it is true. Now, this is something that goes parallel now with the whole school of the Salpêtrière in Paris. There was Pierre Janet, who has worked out that side of the unconscious reactions quite particularly. Now, Freud refers very little to Pierre Janet. Well, I have studied with Pierre Janet in Paris, and he has formed my ideas very much. He was a first-class observer, though he had no dynamic theory about, no psychological theory. It was a sort of physiological theory of the unconscious phenomena as a so-called abaissement du niveau mental. That means a certain depotentiation of the tension of consciousness. It sinks below the level of consciousness and thus becomes unconscious. Now, that is Freud's view too. Only he says it sinks down because it is helped, it is repressed from above. Then that was my first point of difference with Freud. I say there are cases, in my observation, where there was no repression from above, but the thing itself withdrew. Those contents that became unconscious have withdrawn all by themselves. They were not repressed. On the contrary. They have a certain autonomy. There I discovered the concept of autonomy. And that these contents that disappear have the power to move independently from my will. Either they appear when I want to say something definite, they interfere and say and speak themselves instead of what I wanted to say. Or they make me do something which I didn't want to do at all. Or they withdraw in the moment where I want to use them. They certainly disappear.